We are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our podcast. This is your host, Abhinav. And today I have our guest, Professor Brenda Siri. She is the president and CEO at Corporate Connections LLC and a professor at UTD. So, Professor, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, thank you so much for having me today, Abhinav. I really appreciate it. And I'm super excited about your success with what you're doing with your podcast. So, as Abhinav said, I am the president and CEO of Corporate Connections LLC. We are a human resources and talent acquisition consulting firm based in Dallas, but we do work globally. We help our clients with a variety of things, whether it's finding outstanding talent for the roles that they have open, or helping them maybe with, policy or procedure issues that they need updates made to. I'm actually getting ready in the beginning of May to start a human resources consulting project for a company that is startup and has no processes or procedures or human resources department. And I will build that bridge to get them to where they need to be when they're ready to bring in an HR professional. So that's what I do. And then, of course, my passion is teaching at UTD. I love my students and the subject that I teach, which is professional development. And I try to infuse a lot of my professional experience into the school's curriculum as well. So that's my elevator pitch. How'd I do, Abhi?
You have done a great job, I guess. You are the one who has taught us, so I would say definitely the best job I would have ever seen anyone.
Thank you.
And professional development definitely helped me a lot to start my career in on LinkedIn and become some kind of an influencer. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, you are always you're one of those students that I talk about every semester, because I feel like you, more than any other student I ever had, took the whole brand yourself on LinkedIn so seriously. And from the first time you did it to where you are today, you've done a phenomenal job. So you get gold stars from me for that.
Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
All right, so let's begin with our questionnaire, and I hope that you will enjoy these.
Okay.
Let's start with the biggest one right now, and this is very trending these days. So, why do you think companies are hesitant to hire OPT students? Is it really about sponsorship confusion or something deeper? See, I've seen a lot of posts about these days that I'm an international student. I don't need a sponsorship right now. I just need an offer. How does that work from an employer perspective? And do you think how people are posting about this on LinkedIn, is it going to matter that they should be posting about this on LinkedIn and should, educate people that they should be getting an offer and they are good with it?
So a lot of questions in there, and I'm going to try to dissect it as clearly as I can. So companies who are hesitant to hire OPT students are because they're typically not a company who sponsors at all. So understand that when a company goes out and finds the perfect intern to come in and take a role with them or a co-op with someone, if they are not ever going to offer sponsorship to someone, it's really not a good investment for them to bring someone in, even if you aren't required to have sponsorship, if that makes sense. I know that STEM students, get 36 months and non-STEM students get 1 year, right? And of course, the attitude of the student is, look, you're not having to pay for my sponsorship. Just bring me on, because I've got this wonderful education and the skills that you need, and I'd be a great fit for this job you have open. From the company's perspective, they're thinking, I don't want to invest training and time in bringing you on, knowing that I'm never going to hire you full time. Do you understand? So if there is hesitation from a company, that's why. It's because they are not going to invest the money in sponsorship. And I'm not sure if you understand how expensive that is for a company, but for every one employee that they bring in that they have to provide sponsorship for, between legal fees and visa fees, et cetera, it's about $15,000 per person.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot.
So a lot of companies, and especially right now with the with the economy the way it is and some of the uncertainty, if they are a company that offers sponsorship, but they are looking at ways to cut their budget, unfortunately, that's going to be, immigration is going to be one of the things that they're going to cut today that they may bring back in the future. But, do understand that typically companies do know what they're doing. And I believe at the end of your question, you asked me about students going online and posting about
it,
that they need to educate companies. I will tell you this, if a company offers sponsorship, that they clearly do understand the OPT and the CPT process. If they don't offer immigration or sponsorship, it's really not up to students to educate employers. It's a very big decision for an employer to make. And they certainly have corporate legal counsel that they would work with to make the decision as to whether or not they want to offer sponsorship. So I would say you're not really doing yourself any favors if you're posting negative things or things that are coming across as you need to educate an employer. You're a new student who's about to get a diploma. There are people that have been in business for years. So I wouldn't take that approach.
Yeah, the companies are looking to have long-term vision. I mean, they don't want to just hire for 3 years, right? They're looking to hire for long term. And if you're just looking to hire for 3 years, it's going to have a lot of investment, and then they again need to hire. So that's a lot of money that has to go in.
Absolutely. And Abhi, a lot of people don't know this either. When a company hires someone, and let's say they invest, 6 months in training someone and really getting them up to speed, understanding how to do that job. And then 2 months after that, so 8 months into them being there, the person decides to leave and go work for another company. The cost to replace someone at most any level in a company is 40% of a person's annual salary. It's very expensive. So yes, employers want to hire the right person with the right skill level, the right culture fit. It's so important to get it right, or it's very costly to a company, whether that person requires sponsorship or not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Since we have spoken about skills, I would like to ask you this question. Many students have said that they have the qualifications listed in the job description, but on their resume, but they never hear back. So what's going wrong here? How should they actually target the job descriptions? Should they read how should they read between the lines? Are their companies even looking at every application that is sent to them?
It's a tough one. They probably, they're not looking at every application that goes into their company system. You can go out on LinkedIn and look at most jobs today and see that hundreds, if not sometimes in some cases, thousands of people have applied to a job, right? So from a recruiter standpoint, let's say that I work for Walmart and I'm looking for a software developer, and I am the recruiter who's responsible for filling that software developer role. Let's say 500 people apply to that one job. As a recruiter, I'm going to lean on the ATS first to help scrub out the people. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, I'm sure, about how that happens. But to scrub out people who are not qualified for that role, leaving, let's speculate that it leaves 300 people still who have applied for the role that are qualified. I don't have time as a recruiter, because that is not the only job I have to fill, right? I probably have, most corporate recruiters have anywhere from 15 to 50 open jobs that they're working on, depending on the company.
That's a big number.
Let's just say I only have 15 jobs to fill. And the one that you applied for, that software developer, we're down from 500 to 300 applicants. I don't have time with 14 other positions I'm trying to fill to look at 300 candidates. So I'm going to start naturally going in order in the ATS system with the first candidates who applied. And I'm going to determine by looking at their resumes and their qualifications if they are a match for the job. I'm just going to start with the first 20. And then we can drill down further and say that in that first 20, let's say I found 5 out of 20 who I really like, and I decide I'm going to set up a screening interview with those 5. And out of those 5, I like 3 of them enough to send them on to the hiring manager. The hiring manager interviews them, and then maybe the hiring manager says, well, I only like 1 of the 3, so could you get more candidates to me? Now I've got to go to the next 20 candidates that applied in the system. But by the time we get to maybe 60 candidates, leaving 240 who've never been seen, somebody in that first 60 is probably going to get hired.
And that's true.
And unfortunately, that's what happens today. So it's not that anybody is, just picking and choosing which resumes they want to look at. Typically, they are trying to take a very fair and reasonable approach. They just usually don't get through every single application.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a follow-up on that, actually. So from a recruiter's point of view, what can a student actually do that they can increase their chances of getting noticed? Is it just the resume that makes the first impression, or there are 1 or 2 things that students are actually overlooking the most?
So, your resume is your first impression, right? I don't know anybody, I look at a resume, I determine, yes, I would like to interview this person because of the first impression I got from your resume, right?
Yeah.
But there are some things that you should do, to clearly make yourself stand out on your resume. First and foremost, please have your eligibility statement on your resume if you require any type of sponsorship now or in the future. That's really important, and it's going to save both you and the company time. So that is important, right? You don't want somebody to make an assumption about your eligibility either. So that's why I really like to say upfront, put that out there.
Okay.
You should have a properly formatted resume, because ATS systems are very finicky, and your resume could get rejected or pushed to the side because of poor formatting. So I always suggest, when you apply for a job, have your resume be in Word format, not a PDF format. It will parse far more clearly into the ATS system if it's in Word format. Please do not put your photograph on your resume.
That's one thing.
Yes, right. And I still see it all the time. I'm always blown away when I see someone's picture on their resume. You don't want columns on your resume. Columns on your resume can actually be a distraction or a distortion to the ATS system and cause you not to get fully through to be seen. Make sure that you've got nice, clear margins around, no underlines, that it's very clear and easy, because sadly, recruiters scan resumes very quickly. And so if you do a lot of busy formatting, it can be hard to see. Definitely want metrics on your resume, right? Because it's important to let the person who's reviewing your resume know about your successes, about your past history. Even if it was an internship, if it was not, never had a full-time job before getting your college degree, but maybe you're upperclassman, your master's degree, right? Which is what we're focused on. So, during your undergraduate degree, if you didn't leave and go get a full-time job after that, but you did have some internships, those metrics are really important to have. But also, make sure that you can talk to the metrics during an interview. And
that's correct.
Don't just throw numbers out there, because I have had students say, Professor, I need to have some metrics on my resume, and I don't really know the real answer to the numbers. I put 85%, which sounds like a huge metric.
Yeah, big number. 85 is still very big. I've seen people who are putting 50 as well, and I'm saying that, okay, this is a big number. How did you even come to this? So the real question is, if you have increased 50% revenue, my question will be, what was the revenue before? And if they say, as a team, we were doing 100,000, and you are saying 50,000, I increased as an individual contributor, that is a big thing to do for anyone, right? So it is not possible at an individual contributor role. So that's a big thing, and you cannot defend that.
Right.
So definitely, that's a big point.
Yeah. And you want to make sure that as I said, you're being honest and truthful about the information that you're putting. If you can't remember an exact number and you need to take a guess, I would say take a guess low, like 18 to 22%. Don't put something that's so unrealistic that somebody's going to look at your resume and say you're not being truthful.
Right? Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. We have got one question from someone.
Okay.
He's saying that I heard professor saying that having a Word format is better than PDF. Can you please ask to expand a little more on that?
So it really has to do with the applicant tracking system and the way it's going to parse your resume. Sometimes the formatting of a PDF will cause the parsing of your resume going into the ATS system to not be compatible or be done properly. There are a lot of different ATS systems out there.
That is true.
So to be safe, I recommend that you do apply with a Word document. And I always am kind of surprised that people are so worried about having their resume not in a PDF format. Who wants to take your resume and mess it up or change what you've put on there? No recruiter wants to do that. That is your document. It's your history of what you've done academically and professionally. So don't be afraid of the idea of having your resume be in a Word format, but it really has to do with the way that your resume will feed into the ATS system. And you would not want your resume to be rejected because it's parsed incorrectly.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Thank you for answering that.
You bet.
Yeah.
And, I do want to just, say again that that your resume is your first impression when you're applying for a job. So,
exactly.
Be sure that you have it formatted well and that you've really thought through each bullet point that you've written and that you can answer the questions that will come at you during an interview that are related specifically to those bullet points on your resume.
That's correct. That's correct. So I have covered this question in my last podcast as well, but I'm going to make it specific to a recruiter now. How do you think students should go about networking the right way? And how can someone reach out to a recruiter or a professional without sounding that they are really asking for a job? Personally, how would you actually, see that message that has come to you? Which message will you choose to reply?
Well, okay, so let's start with networking with recruiters. First of all, one thing I know about all universities is that they offer career fairs, right? They offer students an opportunity to go and meet with companies who have paid to attend those career fairs because they're looking for students like you who have the right education and knowledge for the jobs that they have. So I would highly suggest that your first avenue in networking with recruiters is to go to those career fairs and meet those recruiters. Be willing to get their information from LinkedIn. Ask them specifically if they wouldn't mind you connecting with them. Once you have connected with them, you definitely want to do a post of gratitude on LinkedIn and thank them specifically, tag them and thank them for taking the time to come to that career fair, right? I mean, that's your best bet of your first step in networking with a recruiter, because that's probably the first place a student who is going through school and about to get their graduate degree is going to be connecting with a recruiter.
Yeah, in person.
Yes. So I highly recommend that. And I will tell you, for me, as someone who has been to career fairs at a number of universities, students who took that approach with me and later asked to connect with me, I absolutely connected with them. And you want to do it as quickly as possible, because remember, those recruiters may have seen 200 to 500 students in one day, and you can't always remember every single person that talked to you that day. But if someone says, "Hi, recruiter Siri, I saw you at the University of Arkansas today at the career fair, and I'm very interested in connecting with you," I'm going to remember them because I just saw them that day, or I know I was there that day, right? So make your be swift as well. Another thing I would say is, once you do connect with a recruiter, you want to potentially, ask them, would it be okay if I watch your company's website and if I see a job that I may be interested in, if I reach out to you before I apply for that job? You want to take a very humble approach, because humbly would want their help if they are willing to give it to you. A warm introduction is always the best, right? So once you connect with them, ask them that question. And if they tell you no, just apply for jobs. And if I see your resume, I'll reach out to you. Then do what they're asking you. I mean, remember, recruiters are busy people too, but I would always take a very humble and kind approach. For me, both with, sometimes I get approached in two different ways. So we'll talk first about the professional way. So I will have people see jobs that are posted on my company page on LinkedIn, and I'll have people who reach out and they'll send me their resume and be like, hey, I'm really interested in that job opening that you have, and they tell me the reasons why. And I will typically, if they're humble and kind, I will typically take a moment to review their resume. Or I may be farther along in the process and say, unfortunately, I've already got 3 finalists in front of my client, and but I'm happy to stay connected with you in case something else comes up in the future. Other times I'll have people reach out to me and it's like, here, I'm perfect for your job. And I don't like that approach. You don't know if you're perfect for the job I'm trying to fill, because while you may have the right skills and education, there's another component that companies are looking for, and that's the right fit for their team. It's about mindset.
I've struggled with that a lot myself. I mean, finding people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you know what you're looking for beyond just somebody's ability to do a job. You need someone who's going to get along with your team, right? You want someone who's going to collaborate and communicate. So for someone to just make the assumption that because I've got the right degree you're asking for in your job description, and I've got all the right training that you're expecting in that job description, you should hire me. You're wrong. You're making a wrong assumption, and you are going to completely turn off a recruiter or a hiring manager if you take that approach. So, I say, take a very humble and kind approach to saying, I'm very interested in this opportunity. I would love it if you would take, a moment to look at my resume and potentially consider me. And if you've met a recruiter at a career fair, ask them how best you could stay connected with them and how you could approach them if they have an opening at their company that you may be interested in.
Definitely. Not look for a job directly, just try to connect with them.
Build a relationship first, right? It's about trust. I mean, if I trust that for a number of reasons, right? I recently had a former employee of mine who is now working for another company, and he reached out to me and said, hey, I need some interns for the summer. I know the people that I trust to reach out to and say, could you refer me to anyone who may be looking for an internship this summer, rather than throwing it out to LinkedIn and getting, I want to applicants. Trust. And that's because I have built trusted relationships, as a recruiter with people as well. So
that's true. That's true. All right. Let's talk about ghosting now. This is a very important question, and I guess one of the students from UTD, he also has it. So he's talking about, why do companies post jobs, let people apply, and then never follow up? Is it volume, timing, or something about the application itself? What should students do after being ghosted?
Well, let's start by first getting a clear definition of what it means to be ghosted. Because I think some people don't understand. Some people think that if they apply for a job and they never hear anything from the company, they never even get an email that says, thank you for applying for this job, we've decided to move on with somebody else, that means they've been ghosted. But that's not the definition of ghosting. You have to have actually had a conversation with someone to be ghosted by them. So if you've interviewed with a company and you've met with potentially 2 or 3 different people and had interviews, and then all of a sudden you hear nothing ever again from them, that's being ghosted. And that's really unprofessional, in my opinion. It's not how I operate. I understand that there are companies who do operate this way, because I've had candidates tell me that and thank me for not being that way. So, you know, in some cases, I don't know necessarily that it's intentional, you know, but I do think, you know, you to be clear, to be ghosted, you have to have had a conversation with someone. Now, if it's the opposite of that, if you have applied for a job and just never heard from anybody again, you're not being ghosted. You just, you could be one of those hundreds of people who applied for a job and the recruiter never got to you.
Yeah, no, your resume was never selected. I mean, it was pushed out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I have a follow-up on this, and this is again a question from one of the candidates. So she says that I've noticed after progressing through multiple interview rounds, sometimes even up to 3, there's often no update if a company decides not to move forward with the candidate. Then within a couple of days, the same role gets reposted. I understand that hiring needs can change, but could you share why candidates aren't notified in such cases? I guess you have taken a lot of time to, already help us understand that. So I would jump into other things. Which is, why is there such a disconnect between the tone of these conversations and the actual outcome? Wouldn't a more professional and realistic tone help manage expectations better? Because sometimes, even after discussing unrelated topics like the weather or upcoming seasons, making it feel like things are really moving forward, there is no follow-up, even weeks later.
Okay, so this is going to take me a few minutes to answer, but I really want to give you an answer that's proper.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to, I work at Walmart and I have a software developer role I'm trying to fill. Okay. Let's, for a second, say that I got down to 3 candidates that the hiring manager said, these are the 3 finalists. I want you to put the job on hold. So while I focus on these 3 candidates and interviews and getting them through all the levels of interviews they need to go through. Okay. So the recruiter goes into the ATS system and puts the job on hold. They don't close the job. They just put it on hold, which means you can no longer see it on the company's website. You can no longer see it on LinkedIn or any other job boards they had it posted on. So for all intents and purposes, you may think they've closed the job, and all they've done is put it on hold while they go through the interview process with those 3 candidates. So now let's say they get through the interview process with all 3 of those candidates, and they decide 2 of the 3 are not right and 1 of them is perfect. And they go to make the perfect candidate the offer, and the perfect candidate says, you know what? Actually, I just got offered my dream job at Amazon. I'm no longer interested in your job. Okay.
Yeah.
Guess what happens? The recruiter now has to go back to the ATS system and reopen the job.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that is why you may see that lag or think that the job is closed. However, what you need to also understand about an applicant tracking system is that it is not just a tool for finding candidates. It has a bigger role. So the applicant tracking system stays alive and the job stays alive all the way through until the hired candidate's first day of employment. Because that system feeds into the company's human resources information system and starts the process of onboarding the candidate that gets hired. And so the job stays open, it stays alive, the ATS stays open, and rejection emails do not get sent out until that candidate's first day of work. So that could take months to happen. So while, you know, you could be expecting faster feedback or faster responses. If it takes a company months to fill a role, the ATS system is going to not send rejection emails until that role is fully filled. Hope that helps.
Yeah, that helps. That helps. Actually, this question, the girl who posted it, she wants to have a quick follow-up question, and she wants to have a quick follow-up question with you personally. So I'll just say to her if you want to, so that she can reach out to you and you can, have a conversation about this. If you're okay. I mean, I'm okay with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. All right. There is one important question I have.
UTD
yeah,
or
please go.
University?
Sorry?
Is she from UTD or another university?
She's from other university, I guess. She has commented on the live page. I mean, the podcast.
Is it, Abby, is it okay if I put in the chat? Oh, no, it'll only go to you. Oh, comments. I was going to say I can put my email address there, and anybody who wants to follow up with me could, if you want, or they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, whatever you think is best.
I would say that reaching personally will be better because everyone will be reaching out to you if you put your LinkedIn email ID here. So it's better that you don't put your email ID.
Okay,
I'll connect with you. It's not an issue. I'll just introduce her with you. That's not an issue.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So how important is location in today's market? Because I've seen people put open to relocate in their resume, but still they are not considered. So is it the priority that is given to the local people, even if the people are looking to relocate? What is it?
So first and foremost, it depends on the role and it depends on the company. Most companies are looking first and foremost for someone that's located already living in the region where their offices are located if they want someone to be there in person. They're going to look first, like I said, for local candidates because the cost of relocating someone can be very expensive, depending if it's just an individual or if it's a family. It can cost upwards of, depending on how many states a person has to relocate. I have relocated a family of 2 people just from one state to the next state over, and it cost the company $20,000. So of course a company is going to want to relocate or work on having someone local first. However, I'm currently working on a role that is very specialized, and my clients have told me we will pay relocation to find the right person because it's such a specialized role. So, it depends on the role. It depends on the company. My suggestion would be, and not every company does this. I certainly do this because my goal is to make the process as easy as I can for candidates. So on my job descriptions, if I know my client is unwilling to pay relocation, I just put it clearly at the top of the job description, only considering local candidates. If I know they're willing to relocate, I make sure it says that. So, you can look through the job description and see if they have clarified that point for you. But, I really do think that that it's important to understand that most companies are going to look for local people first.
That's true. I understand that. Okay. So what about, we see a lot of posts on LinkedIn about referrals. What do you think makes a referral work? Do recruiters or hiring managers really prioritize referred candidates, or what kind of referral actually matters? Is it just the online referral or someone coming to you directly and saying that, okay, this is my friend, I know him from scratch and how he's going to work with us. So how does it really work?
So a lot of companies internally, first and foremost, offer referral bonuses to their employees, because what's better than, giving your employees an opportunity to make a little extra money and them feeling like they've made a great contribution by going out and talking to someone in their network that they know would be a good fit for the job. So this does happen often in companies that they do offer referral bonuses, because we all know people. Maybe it's someone we've worked with previously. But it should be someone that you personally know. So internal referrals from employees are very important. A warm referral, as I like to refer to them, is always the best, right? So you, Avi, are looking for a new job, and you know that I work at Walmart as a recruiter, and you see a job on their website, and you've made that connection with me as a recruiter. It's so much better for you to reach out and say, would you consider me for this opportunity? I'm referring you in, right? Or maybe you know someone that you worked with at another company who would be great for that job, and you and I have a connection, and you say, hey, I would like to refer this person to you because I know they'd be perfect for this job. I know their personality. I know their work ethic. Yes, referrals make a big difference in today's world. They absolutely do.
All right. We have, spoken about this a lot in class as well, and I want to ask this again with you for other audiences. So, when a recruiter checks a candidate's LinkedIn profile, what are they really looking for? Are there any common mistakes that you actually, try to look for when you're looking for candidates, or is there a perfect profile in your mind when you're looking for a candidate? Because I know there is a LinkedIn recruiter on place that is given specifically to recruiters, right?
Well, it's not given to us. We pay a lot of money for it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Sorry about that.
A lot of money for it. It's a very expensive venture. So first of all, I don't think any recruiter goes on to LinkedIn to tear someone's LinkedIn profile apart and find mistakes. What I will tell you is we use LinkedIn in a variety of ways. So I'll start from the perspective of how I use it to search for a candidate, right? So I could go into LinkedIn Recruiter and I can say, I am looking for someone who has X amount of years of experience, lives in this geographical location, has this very specific degree, has worked with this software or hardware for X amount of years, has experience testing software or hardware. I mean, I can make things so specific and say, and I only am willing to look at people that match all of this criteria within a 200-mile radius. LinkedIn will give me those people. It will also break it down and say, now in all of the qualifications that you need in this 200-mile radius of all the people that we found that fit your criteria, only 30 of them say they're open to work. So that's going to make my eyes look at those people first, to be honest with you, because they are actively looking for a job. They may not be unemployed, but they may clearly have pushed that button on LinkedIn that says, let recruiters know you're open to another opportunity. So I'm going to look at them first. And if they're not qualified, that's okay. I'll go look at the ones who don't have that button pushed, because it doesn't mean they're not interested, right? So that is what I'm looking at first and foremost as I'm trying to fill roles. But if I get down to the nitty gritty and I find the perfect person for that job, I'm certainly going to compare their resume to their LinkedIn profile and see if the information is the same. You would be amazed how many people forget to update LinkedIn. They update their resume to apply for jobs, and they forget to update LinkedIn. And a lot of hiring managers like to go look at LinkedIn and see what they see. So it's really important, if you make a change to your resume, always make the same change to your LinkedIn profile. This is going to sound biased, and I don't mean for it to sound biased, but oftentimes, and I see it more with hiring managers than I do with professional recruiters, they look at your profile picture, and if your profile picture is you out on a fishing boat with your hat on backwards and a beer in your hand, they're making an assumption about who you are, right? So your picture should always be professional. Some of the other things that I would call, not a mistake, but certainly not having the most robust LinkedIn profile you can have is not to, you should not just have I worked at Walmart for 3 years, and then I went and worked at Amazon for the next 6 years, but you have no bullet points that give me the context of understanding what you really did, because titles mean nothing. You know,
they don't. Yeah,
they really don't.
they
So
don't.
just a job title and a years of time you spent at a company is not enough. You need to have those bullet points. You need to have, some type of information about what your capabilities are. Even those metrics that are on your resume are a good thing to have,
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
definitely.
those are some of the, just, I wouldn't say mistakes, but they're things that could make your profile more robust. And it's certainly, nice to have a nice, simple summary that lets someone who's going to quickly scan your LinkedIn profile to understand, about your capabilities, your areas of interest, your areas of expertise. And I always say, get recommendations from people that can give recommendations to you. And of course, you know this better than anyone, Abhinav, you should be branding yourself on LinkedIn. Get those posts made. Whether it's talking about, something you learned at school or something that you have perfected, through training. It's good to brand yourself on LinkedIn, because I had someone the other day tell me, when I go onto LinkedIn, it's constantly telling me that I need to see the last thing you said. He was like, I mean, you are like a top contributor on LinkedIn, and it's telling me that. So yeah, it makes a difference. It puts you in front of people, and you never know who you're going to get put in front of and what impression that will make.
That works. That helps. All right. I have a two-part question now. So this is something which I believe every student would want to know.
Okay.
What are some of the common red flags that every recruiter wants to notice at a profile, and that will definitely put a candidate's profile in the no pile? And what are some of the green flags that you notice in candidates who are standing out to you, even if they don't have a good resume?
So let me ask you a question. Are you asking this more in the context of, if I am interviewing someone, what causes me to get a red flag, or if I'm just reviewing someone's profile and resume? Are you talking more about
When you're reviewing someone's profile, so let's say you are looking to hire someone as a software developer and you get a lot of people's profile, as applicants, let's say. So what are some of the red flags that you're looking for first, and what are some of the green flags that you're looking for,
Well, I think I
in
just
your
kind of
opinion?
talked about that, to be honest with you. I mean, I just told you, if I'm looking for a software developer and all they have is their job history and no bullet points, that's a red flag to me. A green flag is there are bullet points.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it might be better to answer this more in the context of what happens when I'm interviewing someone, right? Because I get red flags and green flags too, right? So big red flag for me. I go to interview someone and the camera pops on and they're like kicked back in a chair and they got a t-shirt on, and it's just super casual. Right away I'm like, okay, you're not showing me professionalism. Even though I am just the initial recruiting screener to get you through the hiring manager, you should be as professional with that recruiter as you would be with the person who is going to hire you. So that is a red flag to me. Second red flag I would say is I ask someone a question and there is a long pause. They don't answer me right away and they start looking over this way. Maybe I see some movement with their body. I know they're using some type of AI to answer the question I just asked them, right? Long pauses are a bit concerning. They're a big red flag. Looking over to another screen, big red flag. Not being able to, and I don't know, it sounds like you do have people on here from other universities. So I don't know if universities talk about the STAR method of answering questions, but, discussing a situation and the task involved and the action and the result of what you did. If I'm interviewing someone and I am reading their resume and I look at their resume and it says, okay, your resume says that you increased sales revenue by 50%. We'll go back to that same, what we talked about earlier, by 50% in 2024. Can you tell me how you did that? I would expect that that person on the other end could answer that question and walk me through, using the STAR method, how they increase that company's sales revenue by 50%. If they can't, red flag, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, not being able to explain things on your resume, hesitations, looking away, being too casual, those, I'm also, I have a responsibility, whether I'm a corporate recruiter or as I am a headhunter, in either case, a recruiter has the responsibility to take the initial steps to see if they want to put you in front of the hiring manager. So you should take it very seriously. You should be well prepared, to answer questions about your resume, maintain good eye contact, be professional. Hopefully that helps. Those are my red flags, which may be
definitely.
also my green flags, right?
Yeah, they can be your green flags as well if they are not doing that, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I want someone to understand that they should be taking it very seriously. So I will add to the green flag, though. You should have received some sort of email invitation to attend a Zoom or a Teams type of interview if you're doing a video interview. And you should always follow up, even if it's just a recruiter that was doing that initial screen, with a thank you email. Thank them for taking the time to speak with you. That speaks volumes. I actually have a friend who sends thank you videos. So she got a job, and the company told her it was because that really stood out to them, that she took the time to just record a quick video thanking them for their time, thanking them for the initial interview. And at each step of the interview process, she continued that. So thank you goes a long way. Recognizing that it takes time, recognizing that you could be, in contention against other candidates and be just as good as them. Do something to make yourself stand out. That's a big green flag.
Yeah, that's a big green flag.
Correct. Okay.
All right. We are left with the last couple of questions, and I promise these are going to be short.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah. So this is, one second. How do you think, about the thousands of jobs that people are applying to? Does it really help or hurt more? I mean, what's your take on the spray and pray approach many students use nowadays?
The spray and pray. So if everybody has just one resume, that's a big mistake. I mean, look, you need to have more than one resume and be, customizing. Of course, the core of your resume should be the same. It should be the company and the timeline you work for them. But I had this conversation, I think just in the last week, with someone who reached out to me for some guidance. And they were looking to change fields because they had gotten their undergraduate degree and worked for a number of years in one field. And they were thinking about changing fields because they were getting a different master's degree. And they wanted to know how to convey their experience, but be truthful about it. They felt like they were unable to be truthful about it. And we found a way to be truthful about it after we talked through it. And the thing is you can have more than one resume that can be customizable, that can have a few different keywords that are aligned with the job description that you're applying for, but you should be making very targeted job applications, not just throwing your resume up into the wind and hoping that some company will go, perfect. There's the person we want, right? So targeted job searches are really important. And again, the university that you attend should have a page of companies that will offer sponsorship, or won't offer sponsorship if we have people on this call who don't need
Mm-hmm.
sponsorship but are looking
Yeah.
for ways to apply for a job. They'll have companies who are looking for amazing people like all of you great students are. And you should be doing a targeted search by saying, this is the list of companies I want to work for. I believe in this company. I believe in their products. I could get behind what they do. I could be a passionate employee of this organization. You have the responsibility to be looking at their website every single day, not LinkedIn, not waiting for a job to post there. Go to their website daily, because first of all, the jobs hit their website usually a day or two before they hit LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's true.
So you need to make sure that every day you go on those companies that you feel passionate about working for, that are on your targeted job list, that you're looking at their open jobs every day and applying to them. You will get through much faster than if you wait till it hits LinkedIn and you become lucky number 345 applicant, where you might have been the 20th applicant if you looked every day and you were on their job or their careers page. Does that make sense?
That's true. Yeah, that makes sense. That perfectly makes sense.
Good.
All right, we are coming to our last question, and this is kind of an advice that I would like you to give.
Before you ask it, I would like to say this. Do not make your job, your resume be a perfect match to a job description, because if it's a 100% match, the ATS is going to throw it right out. So, customize with keywords. Don't try to make it a perfect match.
Yeah, because I mean, the best hires nowadays are the ones who are not having exact matches with the job description, right? So they are looking for people to train. So if you know everything, I don't need you to hire as an individual contributor. I'll make you the senior manager of the company, from my perspective.
Right. And you know what? I mean, look, not having all of the perfect experience can bring some diversity to a team, right? Because you may have experience they never even thought about putting on that job description that's on your resume, and you could be robbing them of the opportunity to increase the collaborative spirit of having a team of diverse experience on their team.
Yeah, that really matters, actually. Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. All right. So this is the last question that we have.
Okay.
What is the one thing you wish every international student knew before starting their job search?
I'd say do your homework and research companies and see if you can find out if they offer sponsorship or not. Because if you are applying to companies who are never going to offer sponsorship, you're wasting your time and you're getting frustrated in the process, because you're like, but I have all the experience they say they're looking for and I'm not hearing from them. They're not getting back to me. So, I would certainly say start there. Make sure that you understand if that company will even offer sponsorship. And there are ways you can find out.
Yeah, definitely.
I still see it, even though I teach it in class, and I tell students, make sure that eligibility statement is on your resume. I see that question, and I will answer you, Gayatri, in just a second. Make sure that your eligibility statement is on your resume. I am dumbfounded when I see resumes from students that I know need it and don't have it on there. And then like I just talked about, and that is, to make sure that you have that targeted list of companies that you are interested in working for, understanding if they are a company that offers sponsorship, and then not sitting back and waiting for a company to find you or to be one of so many people that went and applied because they waited on LinkedIn. Be proactive, not reactive, about finding the right opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That really helps. Yeah.
Let me see this question. How important is a cover letter in making a positive impression during an application? Okay. And do we take the time to read the cover letter? Here's the truth. If you go to apply for a job And in the application process, they ask you for a cover letter. Do it, because that is actually a little test to see how well you follow directions.
Instructions.
It is. We want to know if you're following every direction given to you during the application process, or if you're taking shortcuts and not doing everything. So yes, if the application says put a cover letter in, put a cover letter in. Now, is anybody going to read your cover letter? Nope, probably not. Truthfully, a recruiter is going to look right past it, and they're going to go straight to the resume. However, there are some recruiters who will read it, and the reason they'll read it is to see how well your written communication skills are, right? Because that's often very important for a job. And also, I don't think I'm alone in this when I say I can absolutely tell the difference between something that somebody has written versus use AI to write. It's just very obvious. And so
it is very obvious.
Yes. And so they could be reading them a little more often today to see how are your written communication skills? Are you using AI? But they're going to lean more heavily on the content of your resume than they are your cover letter.
That brings creativity into picture as well, right? If you're not really creative about writing about your own, that is a red flag for me as well.
Right.
If you did not put the time to write it, I'm not going to put my efforts to read it.
Right.
So I'll just throw it away.
Right. I mean, it's funny. A couple of years ago, I had a student who came to me and said, "Professor, could I bring you my resume and a cover letter next week to review?" And I said, "Well, you can email them to me." And he said, "Okay." And my first question back to him was, "Who wrote your cover letter, you or AI?" And he was embarrassed. But it was AI, and it was super obvious. And we talked about it. I met with him after class the next week and talked with him about it, because you don't want to come across as anything but authentic. You really don't. I mean, are there ways that AI can help us? I'm sure there are. I'm sure they can take someone's words and make them sound a little better. But there's only one you. Be yourself.
Exactly.
You worked so hard to get this degree and this education. And you can't go into the workforce and expect AI to do your job for you, because if you do, we're all going to be out of a job, and it's not going to be pretty. So you need to be relying on your own skills and your own words and you know.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for coming to the podcast on a Saturday. I know you must be busy.
I'm good. It was a good day. I'm so happy to be here and supporting your podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined us for this podcast. There will be a recording that will be available. And if you have any questions, you can post it on the comments. And if you want to introduce me to Professor, you can definitely do that as well. But reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to introduce. Thank you so much. All right, I'll see you. Bye-bye.